Hello, my name is Cheryl Erickson and I'm the Indigenous focused ECE instructor with Louis Riel Vocational College. Today in Guidance 1, we're going to look at Chapter 14 and discuss stress and vulnerabilities when it comes to behaviors. But before we get started, just a reminder to read Chapter 14, as this video is not a replacement for your chapter readings. So stress can have some impacts on the brain and brain development. And in particular, stress caused by being in abusive or violent types of relationships. So the greatest impact of abuse is on the youngest children, who are the most vulnerable children. Even nonverbal babies who are not direct victims. And there's a lot of situations, or a lot of times in those situations, even if they're not directly involved, they're in a violent and in a unsafe environment, and because of that, it causes them to not feel safe and secure. As well as prolonged stress causes damage to the dendrites of your brain, which really helps to control and manage your emotions and that whole development of self-regulation. So these types of stress, these types of feelings, I guess, they carry forward. And what they experience with peers early on in life tend to be repeated as they become parents as well. So again, that cycle does tend to continue. So as ECEs, what kind of strategies can be used in our environments when it comes to helping children who are in abusive homes or violent types of homes? So really developing relationships is going to be important as well, and ensuring that your environment feels warm and safe. And so providing some opportunities for small group work, even one-on-one, will really work towards developing relationships. And also starting off with smaller interactions helps children feel a little bit more comfortable in those group settings. So you can start with maybe 1 or 2 children, and then children get comfortable with that and then are more able to function in the larger group settings. Let them play the lead role in one-on-one activities is really important too. So that's giving them some sense of control within those, in facilitating that play, as well as buddies. A buddy system sometimes works. It gets to be that comfortable person, and that starts a friendship evolving and developing. Help them interplay and how to model and engage in interactions with others. And we've talked a lot about how children don't necessarily know how to enter those play situations. And especially a child that's coming from an environment that might not be promoting those social types of skills, or there could be some fear instilled as well. They might not know those social norms. So it's setting them up for success in entering play and developing relationships. So we want to teach children also conflict resolution skills, how to appropriately deal with problems that are coming out in play situations, giving them words to use, and we're wanting to really use those verbal approaches when they do become upset or frustrated. So we're wanting to change the behavior patterns that they've learned up to now to more positive ways to deal with those emotions. And we really need to be patient with children, show them that they matter, that we care about them, and that we're there to help them and guide them through situations. Often it could be, situations where there's violence in the community, and we every day see violence, not only maybe in the community where we live or work, but we see a lot of media violence as well, and it's, can give children a big sense of fear. So community violence is increasing at an alarming rate. There's a lot of conflict, sometimes even parental conflict within the home. Depending on where you live, there could be gang violence, it could be unsafe neighborhoods. I talked about the media. Children learn to become fearful, afraid, anxious. Those emotions tend to come out as well. Post-traumatic stress disorder is more of a common, now that it's a label, we're able to diagnose children more often with symptoms that have come from seeing or being in violent situations. So a lot of negative things come out of violence, and it affects children in a very negative way. And so when the children come into our environment, we need to ensure that first and foremost that they're feeling safe within that environment, and really taking time to listen and develop those relationships are going to be strategies that we use, and the strategies that we've just discussed as far as abuse and violence as well. What do we know about children in foster care? And so children who have typically been removed from the home that they lived in for, could be many different reasons. Most of all is that their parents aren't able to care for them in the way that they should be cared for. So there could be a lot of different feelings that a child is having. We never know a child's story as well. And so if a child comes to us and they're new to a foster home, we don't know how many foster homes they've been in prior to coming into our care. We don't know what their living environment has. So if we can find out some background information, it really does help us support that child. So fear and anxiety could be something that comes up if they're faced with some type of conflict. They may not know how to respond appropriately to that conflict. A lot of children, depending on what has happened in their background, have learned to hide their emotions and responses. Sometimes they just withdraw in an unpleasant situation. So we need to work on helping them master some skills in dealing with these situations. Teachers or ECEs can promote opportunities to discuss feelings. We can do this through songs and through stories, through puppet shows. And again, those meetings with foster parents and social workers really set the tone and help us learn about the child and how we can best care for that child. Children who have experienced multiple housing and family changes have a lot of stress in their lives because they never know, they don't know what could happen next or how long they may be staying in the home that they're staying. And because of that, predictable routines are going to become really, really important for that child. So we want things in the daycare environment to be predictable and routine, the same thing every day, so they can start to get comfortable and they know what's going to take place next. And that's going to be important for them in the home that they're living in as well. So let children know when you or your coworkers are going to be absent as well, because it prepares them for somebody that's going to be different the next day. You can, in the event of you're going to be on vacation or something and you're the primary caregiver to a child that's just come into your care, who's living with a new foster family, let them know you're going to be away. Let them know who is going to be taking your place, and maybe even introduce them so that's comfortable, that they don't feel that, that something they've done has made you leave, or that they wonder what happened to you, that you're just another person again who's disappeared out of their life. So it's really important to let them know so that they're more comfortable with that transition. It is also recommended actually to create a scrapbook to help with pleasant memories. So if you can take some pictures of the children in their group and a caregiver and a participation that they're participating in daily activities. Pictures of them doing, say, an art activity, and then put in their scrapbook pieces of art that they've created. So they have that good sense of personal belonging or continuity. So that's really important as well in helping them adapt to that environment. We do see a lot of children that are in our care or come into care that have parents that have gone through separations or divorces, and that tends to be a big change within their life. They go to living in a home with mom and dad to now having 2 homes to live in. So there's a lot of adjustment within that. And how can we help in the daycare environment a child that may be going through some struggles because mom and dad are separating? So, how do we approach that? Again, it's always within any situation is developing a good rapport with a child in a relationship and letting them know that, you're there for them and you're going to support them. There could be a lot of anxiety as well, especially when it comes to now they've lived with mom and dad and now they're going to go stay with mom, and they have anxiety because they're going to miss dad, and vice versa. So developing some good skills to help with that anxiety may be good. So what kinds of skills can we teach children to pass time while they're waiting or in the meantime, especially if it's they know they're going to go to dad's at the end of the day and it's only 8 o'clock in the morning and dad doesn't come till 5. How can we pass that time? So games, stories, different activities, just constructive ways that you can get busy and not think about that. So just those self-help skills are going to be really important to the child. And to support both parents as well in the relationship. So when the child does go to the parents, to the dads or to the moms, have conversations with them about things that they did, activities they participated in, what their room looks like, meals that they ate, all those different types of conversations with the child, because that's going to set them up for success for those next visits, because you can remind them of those positive times and those experiences and the things that they had fun at as well. So then it will set them up for success, and then they'll be looking forward to doing those things. So, make sure you're communicating with both parents. You went from 1 newsletter for the family to now 2. If you have activities or field trips, dual messages need to be sent out regarding that, just so you keep both parents informed, because communication is going to be a little bit different. And when you're doing portfolios and parent teachers and things like that, ensure that you are informing both parents so they can be a part of that process as well. You also have the situation with new family structures. So children have gone through separation and divorce and the changes in the way they live. And then when parents enter in new situations, or even remarriages or living together, those family structures tend to change again. And with that comes some anxiety and stress for children again. So what kinds of strategies do we need to incorporate again to help the children and support the child and their family through that? So, it is different in the sense that you go from, maybe a child, and it could be an only child, they spend some more one-on-one time individually with parents, or if it's just their siblings, to sometimes families, blended families. So there's other children involved and having to live with other children and a new parent figure. So a lot of anxiety within that, new rules. And just be supportive and listen. Talk to the families about that. Have conversations with the parents regarding these changes, because you can talk to the child and prepare them in your environment. Things like new foods, new rules. There could be new ways of discipline in that environment that the child is going to get to know. So the child could display some different behaviors in your environment, and there are a lot of curriculum approaches you can take as well. So there's a lot of social stories, a lot of books and puppet stories and things like that you can implement with a child to help prepare them as well. And there's also resources and supports within your community that can help with those types of transitions that will be successful or help a child to be successful in this new transition in their life. We also have a lot of, when it comes to stress and vulnerabilities with young children, poverty plays a key role in that as well. So just some statistics out of the United States: 15 million children live in poverty in the U.S., and more are likely to repeat grades, be in special ed, or drop out of school. And that could be because they want to get a job and make some money. If they're not doing well in school and it's a negative experience, they're not going to want to continue. So there's many, reasons why. If you live in an environment where maybe education isn't something that's promoted in your family, your household, there might not be a drive as well to pursue education. So we want to make sure that in our environments we're supporting children in their educational process. We want to be an advocate for them. We want to connect families and make school a positive experience. And so we can really, in the early years in daycare, set children up for success in school by making education fun and praising them, encouraging them, and supporting them. And so early identification, if you are having some learning problems, usually takes place in daycare centers, and getting children the supports that they need early in life sets them up for success. So we really want to be on top of that and make sure a child is academically ready when they leave our daycare environment and go to grade 1. They are more apt to be successful in school. And teach them a little bit about school as well. Preparing for that next step is really important. And so if you can have opportunities for children to go to school and learn a little bit about the school through open houses, pictures, or even have school come to the daycare center to share some information, really prepares the child a little bit better. You can create a fun family backpack that has literature, games to promote social interactions, discussing social, emotional. That all prepares, again, a child from school. And we actually, in a center that I worked at here in Winnipeg, in 2 of the neighboring schools that our children typically attended when starting kindergarten, they had books that were full of pictures and information about the school. So it was pictures of the kindergarten classroom, the gymnasium, washrooms. It talked about the routines. And so we would actually read those that information and let children see that information prior to starting them in school. And then it was very familiar to them. And there wasn't as much anxiety when they started school. So you really want to support that, and that works hand in hand in being successful learners as well. Supporting children in self-esteem, in vulnerability. We need to recognize the types of self-esteem children display and provide activities to support growth. Children need to have a good self-concept, feel really good about themselves, and carry themselves well, confident. And that you're going to find out in their daily interactions. A lot of children who have a good self-concept and good self-esteem ask you a lot of questions. You know, aren't shy. They don't take a lot. They take risks. So those children, you know, are well established in their ability to interact well in their environment, and they're not afraid to try new things. So if you notice children are kind of shy and laid back, we really need to encourage them that they can do things and have that can-do attitude within your classroom. Support them, scaffold them again, model risk-taking, and you know, that your friends support you, that we do care about you and we want you to be successful. So those types of things. Set children up in their environment and in activities that you know that they're going to be successful, so they can have experience those feelings, I guess, of being successful within their environment. And so that does conclude Chapter 14 of your guidance text. Please do see your instructor if you have any questions regarding Chapter 14. Also check in to ensure you haven't missed any handouts or assignments pertaining to Chapter 14.